Did you know that Google personalizes many searches by city and Also Asked is the only tool to access live People Also Asked data at city level? Try for free at alsoasked.com.
Tired of SEO guesswork? Quadra's AI agent goes deeper to uncover high-impact optimizations and completes hours of SEO in minutes. Get started now.
I was going to say that SEO with Fat Joe is as peaceful as this, but then the birds are all having fights.
And believe it or not, I'll not mention Greenland once. But what we'll talk about is how something that I found extremely interesting over the last year, and that is how you win rankings in free listings. And that's something that I see largely ignored by many SEOs. So yeah, that's the topic. And let's dive into it. So first off, we all know how to optimize for blue links, right? We know from an e-commerce perspective, you build out your facet pages, your category structure, you put content on them, you work with your authority, your click-through rates, all of those things, technical SEO and so on. So the issue is that now free listings is taking over more and more real estate. That's why you're sitting here, maybe, hopefully. So essentially what's happening is that you have Google launching the free listing module, and it's essentially taking up more and more space on commercial searches. And this is happening all over Europe. So this is data compared to 1 year ago. And what you see is that you have UK, where an average free listings is popping up on 12%. You have Italy, where it's gone from 0% to 9.6%. You have Germany, it is doubled over the last year. And you have France, where it's now up to 20%. And this is across all keywords. Now, if we zoom in on only commercial keywords, I've brought 4 studies. The first one is a US clothing brand. I've took out 1,000 of their top non-branded keywords and looked up whether there's a free listing module or not. And for this particular brand, in 91% of the times there was a free listing module, and very often there's more than one if you've seen them. Here's a Norwegian outdoor retailer, 60% of all of their non-branded keywords, you see free listing modules coming in. Here's a Swedish jewelry retailer, 70%. Here's a Danish bed retailer, 91%. So essentially what's happening is that on all commercial-oriented search terms, what Google is doing is that they're showing free listings. So we call this, an asterisk still is, we call this the end of blue links. Might be a little bit melodramatic, but essentially what it means is that when I make a search here for black sneakers, I believe it is, I don't see a single blue link within the viewport. I see shopping ads in top, and then I see the free listing module below, and then after that I see a comparison site, because that is EU regulation saying that Google has to put in the comparison sites. I don't believe Google likes to do that, but they are forced to do it as they are now a gatekeeper. So anyways, in this result, if you are optimizing your black sneaker page, well, that's quite unfortunate because you've invested in building content into that specific facet page where you combine color with all of your different categories, maybe material or whatever. And that the click-through rates here are dropping, obviously, while you can actually get a lot of traffic from the free listing module. So essentially, you have 4 levers. If you want to rank well in free listing, you have 4 levers to do that. The first one is creating better product content for your products, right? So product descriptions, make them longer, better, more descriptive, and so on. Then the next thing is technical SEO, making sure you have product schema, making sure the page speed is good, making sure that everything is rendered, you don't hide content, so on and so forth. Then, so that's sort of what you could have guessed if you would say, okay, what would possibly make me rank well in free listings? And then a couple of interesting things that I would then work with is the feed. And the issue with the feed in general for SEOs is that typically it's the paid search team or the paid social team who owns or at least are responsible for the feed. So why would SEOs suddenly care about it? Well, surprise, the feed determines how well you rank in free listings. And then the fourth part I would spend way more time with is our product page template. Because as this is happening, we will see way more of our traffic going towards our product pages rather than PLPs, because product pages will be sort of the front page of the future. So spending time on applying to best practices there make tons of sense. Right, so today we'll only talk about the feed for now. So let's jump into that. Essentially, what a feed is it's sort of like a sitemap of all your products, and then you have different attributes for each product. And then you can sort of think of it this way, that the better the data quality, the better Google is able to show your products on those searches in general. And then there's lots of different attributes. Some are relevant for some industries, some are for other industries. But overall, you of course have the title, description, and things like that are mandatory to do shopping ads, and many of those are already in place. But then there's very often other attributes that are either not in place or are sort of filled out wrong. And that's obviously what you want to optimize. So let's take a couple of examples. Here we have a pajamas. So what you see first is the existing title, and then the next thing is what would be a nice optimized title of that product you would put into the feed. And this is very similar to what you would do when it comes to just regular SEO. You'd like to add in that this pajamas is in cotton, that is in navy, is it extra small. You like to add in some of the contents around the category of what kind of product is this, because that obviously will make that product rank better for like cotton or navy if people were searching for pajamas in that way. The same goes for the description. Well, you always have a description. Very often it might be too short, or you don't bring in all the search terms you want that product to rank for. Well, you can do that, obviously. And finally, it could also be product type, always filled out, but very often filled out in the wrong way, and not applying to sort of the standards that Google gives you. So it could be filled out this way, where you put in the full path. These are the attributes that are typically there. And then there's all the attributes that are not there. So it could be the material. Well, you can populate that with cotton or pattern. You could say this is leopard print, or color. You could say it's a navy/multicolor. And Google has made really, really nice guidelines to each and every one of these attributes. So it's quite easy to just go ahead and look through, okay, what is actually the guidelines for the attributes that are relevant for me? And I met very few SEOs who actually care or know that these things are here. So big recommendation to do that. And then one attribute I want to highlight is product highlight. And the reason is that I've only seen this attribute in 2 feeds in my life, and I've looked at a lot of feeds in the last year. So product highlights is essentially a list of USPs on any given product you can fill out. So in this case now, this is not the highlights for the pajamas, but you could sort of get the feeling. You can add somewhere between 2 to 100 product highlights for every product. We typically add 5, and then it could be something like this. So this is, for me, a major window of opportunity, that this is something no one is using in their feeds, and we can just fill it in, and that will obviously give us better rankings in free listings. Then there's the images. So the issue with images is that they, of course, come from either PIM or the shop system. And what happens if they're not in the same size and format that Google shows is that Google will sort of change the format. So in this case, it's a vertical image, and then they will cut the sides. So, or they would cut the top or the bottom. And essentially what you then want to do with that image is to make sure that it's applied to the standard that Google wants, the squared image, or if it's a given industry, look at that and provide that within the feed, so that when you have your free listings or even shopping ads, it's being shown correctly. Right, so typically a setup looks like this, right? You have a raw feed. Could be Shopify, you have raw feed from Shopify, you then take that feed through a feed management system. That could be Channable, that could be Data Feed Watch, whatever feed management system you like. And then you use that feed when you have made, the page search has made the changes in the feed management system, and they bring that towards the different platforms they're using that feed. And well, the issue here is, where are you going to make the optimization? You can make it in the raw feed base, because if you change the title there, it will also change the title in the PIM, it will change the title on the website, it will even change the description on the website, and so on. So, and that issue, sort of the way we've solved it is to build something below this where we can actually make those changes, right? So essentially we built, call it Quantum Feed Engine. You could also use Google's own. They've made a tool called Feed Gen, which is essentially does some of the same things. But essentially what you can then do is that you can work with AI to optimize the feed, and then you can upload a supplemental feed to Merchant Center. And a supplemental feed, let me go back one, is you have a primary feed that's in Merchant Center, then you upload a supplemental feed, and if there is another title in the supplemental feed, Google will simply pick that one instead. That means you can make all the changes you want without sort of editing the current ecosystem of any other sort of work that is being done by either the paid search team or paid social team or programmatic team or whoever is using the feed, which everyone is nowadays. Okay, so how does this work, right? So essentially what you want to do is that across your assortment, you want to add missing attributes and images, and you want to optimize existing attributes and images. And obviously, AI is perfect for that. So you can ask an AI to look at the existing attributes you have, and you can ask it to look at the image. And then it can help you provide the information and details about each and every one of the products. The way we have set this up, and you can use that for inspiration, is that we build a system prompt based on all the sort of experiences that we, of course, have from shopping, but also from all the guidelines that Google have provided, that together with few short examples. So for, let's say you have an assortment and you want to build a prompt for one section of that assortment, and then you build some examples. So if the AI meets one title, you say, okay, you should output this. These two things together are really, really powerful. And that allows you to then take your existing feed and then essentially optimize titles, description, add the missing attributes, pattern, color, change product type, all of the different things you want to do across the full assortment. And then obviously, does this work? Well, a couple of examples. This is a jewelry company. The only thing we changed for this jewelry company in the feed was the title. And we actually made a very small change here. We just added the brand name as the first part of the title. And what happened was that click-through rates went through the roof. So for this particular client, the clicks increased by 11%, cost also increased because they got more clicks, conversion increased by 15%, and conversion value increased by 18%. So they were actually able to drive way more revenue for the same budget or for a bit more budget. When it comes to the free listing part, this is an example of a client where we simply just optimize title, description, color, pattern, and product highlights throughout the full assortment. It's a furniture company in Denmark alone, and they saw a monthly uplift of 40k euro a month, which equals 40% of their free listing revenue. If you don't know how much revenue you're driving from free listings, you should immediately go into Merchant Center and make sure they are connected to GA in a proper way, so you can actually filter on the revenue free listing is driving, because it can be quite significant. This was made with a causal impact analysis, by the way. Another case, so what we did here was more or less the same. We optimized title, description, and then we added material, age group, and product highlights, which was not there. And what happened here was an increase in, and this is shopping ads performance numbers, an increase in 15% in clicks, impression increase with 8%, conversion increase with 22.5%. Imagine you have a shopping ad spend of, let's just say, 100k a month, and you are able to increase the conversions from that with 22%. CTRs increased with 6%, cost increased with 17.75%, and if they sort of had kept sort of the same spending level, this would equal 1.3 million in yearly revenue in addition. And what's happening in general is that, because you can see costs are also going up. So what's happening when you optimize your feed is that your ads are getting eligible to be shown on more impressions. And then you can either decide to increase your return on ad spend, or you can decide to keep the same return on ad spend, but just spend more and get more revenue back. So that's what's happening. And then apart from this, then your free listing rankings will improve. The way you can measure this is by doing something called a FeedX test. So a FeedX test is a Google framework that Google is providing, where what you do is that you set up you make your feed optimization. And it could be through Google's feed gen, it could also be through S360, custom feed engine, whatever. So and then you essentially make an A/B test of that feed. So you take a control and a variant, you only implement as a supplemental feed the variant, and then you let that run for a period, and then you switch over. So you remove the supplemental feed from the variant, and then you add supplemental feed from the control. And then you're able to, with very high significance, show how big of an uplift are you seeing, both in free listings, but particularly also in shopping ads. So, before we would have blue links, you would, create faceted pages, all of those traditional SEO tactics. I'm not saying you should stop with that, because obviously that's still important. What I'm saying is that you should also, or take part of that investment and put into feed optimization as well, from an SEO point of view and obviously a page search point of view. Because now we see, the rise of free listings. And this is in the future. I mean, you've seen AI overviews, a lot of talks today, and what's happening is that Google will inject feeds into AI overviews. That's at least my prediction on it. So feeds from an e-commerce perspective, it will be the way you will get organic traffic in the future. That will be to optimize the feed, and the more sort of attributes you can put into the feed, color, the more descriptive you can make it, fill out all the different attributes, the better the AI will be able to suggest what products to buy. So when you have a conversation with AI overview or whatever LLMs, whenever they get ready for feeds in the future, well, the feed, the way you work with the feed and the quality of the feed will be what determines how well you rank in the LLMs and in AI overviews. So this is also a way to sort of future-proof your work with ecom SEO. So, yeah, connect with me if you want a free feed audit or of your ecom business. Then I'll love to go through it for you give you a small demo of content feed engine. I hope it made sense. Thank you so much.
Demand sphere. Limitless visual insights from the SERPs. Unlimited dashboards and users. Easy to use and easy to scale your growth to new levels.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.